Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. With all the players that you've had at your programs, you've probably had a lot of coaches go through what you just talked about Roy Williams coming through the gym and helping you sweep. But being around all of those leaders, you probably got to pick up on some of the characteristics that make them special. What's one quality that you see in great leaders?
Well, great leaders are focused. I mean, I've been real fortunate. We had two of our kids played for Coach K at Duke, and I got to be around him quite a bit. In fact, we even got to practice on Duke's floor when we played in the OT Holiday Classic. But a little side story: we play at the school in Raleigh. It's a public school, but it's kind of like a private institution. It was called and I can't remember, Peabody School or something like that. But that's where they had the tournament. And out front in the foyer was a shrine, a huge shrine to Pete Maravich, who played there in high school. Oh. So I took my kids out there. I said, guys, this is Pete Maravich. And one of the kids looked at me and said, who's that, Coach?
No, they have to know who Pete is. Oh.
They were more impressed. There was a Chick-fil-A that they for. It was two-story. It was a two-story Chick-fil-A. And you'd order and your stuff would come up on a dumbwaiter. They were more impressed with that.
Man, Pistol Pete was one of my favorite players of all time, but a huge influence on me with his homework basketball videos. I mean, that's really where I learned kind of a love of skill work was from him.
No one better. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, let's face it, if he was playing with a 3-point line.
Averaged over 50 points a game if that was the case. Yeah. Who were some of those? So you mentioned focus. Who were some of those leaders or coaches that you can think of that, man, kind of really blew you away in that area?
Pat Summitt, Rick Pitino. Growing up, of course, outside of Orville in Akron, and Bob Knight, of course. You saw a lot of guys that were really, really focused and it seemed like they had a handle on everything. So, but it's just it's all a little bit different now with the media and the stuff that you all have to go through. I don't know, the NIL stuff. I don't want to touch it.
Me neither. Yeah, and a lot of those things that there are still some places where you don't have to deal with some of the headaches that at bigger schools. Like at Grapevine Faith Christian School, it's a small 5A private school where it's a little simpler here, and so there is that piece that comes from just really not having to mess with some of those things like that, for sure. I would imagine that those names that you mentioned, that majority of people, I mean, for good reasons now, but in their lifetime, they've never had the opportunity to be around them. But I would imagine the focus that they were able to have comes from the organization that you talked about with Daily Habits. Like, I think those two things go hand in hand, right?
Oh yes. I mean, you've got to have order in your life if you want order on the court. And, it means getting up early and, mapping out the day, mapping out what all needs to be done. And then, contacting those people, contacting those coaches or the kids, and let them know, hey, this is how, this is what I need everyone to be. And this is where I need what you to do and everything.
Did you ever know Coach Fitch over at Birdville High School? He was there for a long time, but there's a chance you guys never crossed paths.
I did not. We did not ever. We when I was at Kimball, we were in the Holton tournament every year, and then when I got to South Oak Cliff, we never really went over there too much.
Well, the reason I bring him up is he had been at Birdville for 20 some years, and he just recently retired. And we're talking about some of these questions, and the favorite culture building activity came up, and he just made a comment about that word culture. He's like, you just hear it all the time now, but he said, 20, 30 years ago, we never used that word, but we all had it. Like there's standards, the pillars, the ways that you show up. So what were some of the things that you did to help build that culture in the programs that you had?
I always took the kids to church with me. Of course, the bottom line was we had to feed them afterwards.
That's the trade-off.
My wife is Italian, and she's a great cook. Great cook. And I can remember us having like 14 kids at our house. And one of them was Evan Washington, who went on to be the left tackle at LSU. And she made like 12 pounds of spaghetti and like two different desserts, salad, And I can remember sitting there and all 14 kids. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. They were just eating. That's all they were doing. And when they got done, everything was gone, and I do mean everything. And but I wouldn't feed them unless they went to church. So
How was that? How was that with the parents? Like, were they all pretty receptive to that? Because I love the idea, and at a private Christian school, that it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, the only pushback I would get is it interfere with them going to church, most likely. But at a public school, and I know I understand things have changed, but what did you get pushback at all from that?
never.
Wow.
I just got parents that thanked us, and I did it at South Oak Cliff. I did it at DeSoto. Um, I just wanted the kids to see that there's more to life, and that when you pray together, it's one of the things about Coaches Outreach. It's hard to be mad at people you pray with. And I did this in Dallas. I started praying with my kids after every practice, before every game, you know. And part of that reason was me, because I did not want to leave the floor mad or in a bad sense. Once you cross those lines, it's over. You know, and the kids talk about how I used to be kind of rough on them and use pretty harsh language, and then next minute we'd be praying. So,
But you had the ability to kind of flip that switch like that. That's impressive to me.
well, it's not my best feature. Being a blue collar, being from in a city, I always attribute that to the way I would attack things, and but I never wanted to go home mad. It's kind of like when any of the kids get married, they ask me for advice, and I'm not the best person, but we're going on 40 years, so apparently
You've done something right.
I know. She must think I have money or something, but
Joke's on her.
but never ever go to bed mad with your spouse. Never ever. And if you're a man, the two best words is yes, ma'am. And the next two best, I'm sorry.
That's right.
But that same way with dealing with the kids, they were all my kids. They were all my family, and I'm so blessed that for 38 years I've been in the same area of Dallas County, and I get to hang out now. They're in their 50s and they're retired too, but I get to hang out with a lot of my ex players. I'm blessed.
Coach T had that ability too. And it's something I always admired about him, especially now getting into coaching, is the ability to be hard on players, but then love on them almost at the same time. Like it just, and to know the right thing to say at the right time, to where, I mean, rarely did we leave a practice or leave a game where we didn't, that's how I felt, where I didn't know that Coach T loved and cared about me. And it just sounds like you kind of had that same ability.
Well, I mean, kids pick up pretty quick, and you can't fake it. And if you love the kids, and if you care about them, then they understand. They get it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.